just making some changes.
Welcome, welcome everybody. Greg Peterson with the Urban Farm Fruit Tree Program, and I'm here with Janice. Hello, Janice.
Hello, Greg. I'm Janice Norton with the Fruit Tree Program.
Yay. I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this publicly on the record. Janice joined us, oh my gosh, 7 years ago and started transforming the Fruit Tree Program back then. And it runs a whole lot smoother now because of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the appreciation.
Yeah, you bet. All right. So today what we are talking about is planting, watering, and fertilizing extreme tree care for your fruit trees. You may have seen this in a previous slideshow. This is my apple hedge when I planted it in 2003 at the Urban Farm. And here it was 10 years later, how it had grown out. You'll notice that the trees are way too close together there. I have since decided that a good distance between your fruit trees is about 5 feet if you're going to make them into a hedge. All right, so first thing I want you to do is dig the hole, and pre-digging the hole is always best. So get out there and dig holes today. This weekend, you're going to dig a square hole, and you're going to make the hole 2 times wider than the pot with a minimum of 2 foot by 2 foot. And even we suggest that even on the berries and the smaller potted things that we bring in, which are the figs and the pomegranates and the grapes and like that, because we're dealing with desert soil here and you want to fluff up the desert soil as much as possible.
Yeah, you want to add the organic material and you add some air space. All of that's going to help.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you make your hole 2 foot by 2 foot minimum. And I usually just like, as long as you don't have caliche that you're dealing with, I always like to go just the depth of the hole. That way, when you plant the tree doesn't sink. And then once you have your hole dug, you're going to do a perk test. Do you want to tell people what a perk test is, Janice?
Lesson learned. Yes. Okay, a perk test is a percolation test. You're going to test how fast the water percolates through the soil so that you're not basically giving your trees a bath or a mud bath, which is an article on the Urban Farm blog. So what you're going to do is you dig your hole, you're going to put your hose in it, you're going to fill it up, and you're going to let it drain. And you're going to fill up a second time and you're going to let it drain. And hopefully that first time will go through kind of fast and the second time will go through maybe a little bit slower, but it will go through. And you should be able to do both of those within a few hours. Definitely 24 hours, but like 4 to 6 hours is a nice good range for that. Anything between 6 to 12, 24 hours, it's still manageable. Anything more than that, you got a problem, you're going to need to solve it.
So when you say anything more than that, so if you fill the hole up with water and there's still standing water in it 24 hours later, I'm not talking an inch, I'm talking 6 to 12 to 18 inches, you got to email Janice or Greg, and we'll send you articles on how to fix it.
Yeah, email Greg right now. He's got a lot more time on the computer during this particular time of the year than I do. Yeah. That picture there is a percolation test where the hole filled up and stayed that way 4 days before I decided I gave up and started just pulling the water out. So that was a major indication of a problem. I learned my lesson. I had to solve it, and I've done so. But at percolation test, if your tree holes, when you fill them up, are not draining, your trees will drown because they need the air. So let's do a perk test, save yourself hassle later.
And the likelihood that there's still going to be water in the hole after 24 hours is very slight.
Depends on the part of the valley you're in.
It does, part of the valley or the desert, because we've got people from Tucson and other parts, but
that's true.
It's rare that it doesn't perk.
I know. That was so bad.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
Right. So Then what goes in the planting hole? What goes in the planting hole is 60% Farmer Greg's planting mix. This is a nice composted planting mix that we get from Tank's Green Stuff. 40% native soil. And so you're doing a 60-40 mix, native soil to planting mix. 2 ounces of mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is soil life. And we have there's a 5-ounce bag of it down there in the right in the picture. That's what it just looks like, a granular thing. We sell it. We have all these things for you, but it brings fungal life to the soil, which helps extend the root's ability to uptake nutrients and water. 2 pounds of azomite. Azomite is a micronutrient vitamin pill, essentially, for your tree. 2 pounds of worm castings. Worm castings has the nutrients in it, and it has soil life in it. And we get our worm castings, we get our worm castings and our organic fertilizer and our planting mix. They're all local. When you're buying soil to plant in, it is very important that you get local as you can, because the micro life in planting mix and worm castings is specific to a space.
It's regionally impacted.
Exactly. So if you're buying planting mix from Minnesota and you're in Phoenix, yeah, that's not great. So we highly suggest that you get local as much as possible. So you dig your hole 2 foot by 2 foot by 1 foot deep. You save 40% of the native soil, put that in the wheelbarrow. You put 2 bags, we usually say about 2 bags of planting mix in the wheelbarrow, and mix it up. You add your mycorrhiza, your azomite, your worm castings, and your organic fertilizer. You mix it all up, and then you plant it. And you're going to want to plant it to the right depth. This doesn't happen so much anymore because I've been screaming so much about it. But that graft union, the second arrow from the top, if you bury that, you will kill your tree. It's that simple. So you want to plant it to just above the root flare.
Now, if you're picking up citrus trees this week or next, you're just going to plant to where the dirt line is.
Yes. Which will be about
it's what's in the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
It's right there.
Yeah. And you may have to put the plant on a mound in the middle. So just know that you might have to mound it up in the middle a little bit to make room for your woody mulch. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there it is right there. So if you are planting above grade means that your basin is going to be above grade. So let's say you have a gravel yard, you rake back the gravel, like in the top picture, you plant the tree on a mound in the middle, you have the graft union above the ground, you finish the planting, you put your woody mulch in place, and you're good to go. If you're going to go below grade, so like in the case of a lawn, you do it the same way, put your tree on the mound in the middle and your woody mulch, and minimum of 6 inches of woody mulch. Are we good, Janice?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is what a planted citrus looks like. This is a planted citrus above right next to a block wall. So this one's likely going to need some heat mitigation off the wall. I had somebody, if you're on the call, thanks for the reminder. Somebody emailed me yesterday and said, what if we put a bamboo, that inexpensive bamboo sheeting on the block wall? It's like brilliant. That is a huge mitigation piece. What we suggest you do for heat mitigation in this order: 6 inches of woody mulch, wrap the tree trunk with a tree wrap, which we sell buy 3 get 1 free. Plant some kind of ground cover. It has to be a ground cover that is on the same watering schedule as your tree. So sweet potatoes and cowpeas are great for this. And we give away cowpeas in January. And sweet potatoes, you get organic sweet potatoes from the grocery store and let them sprout and then put them in the ground around your tree. And the sweet potatoes and the cowpeas get planted in February or March, just so you know. Once they're established in the ground, both once the sweet potatoes and the cowpeas are established in the ground, they'll come back year after year. But you just got to get them started. So in the picture on the right with the red box, that shows the graft union way above the ground level. Again, if you bury that graft union, you're going to kill the tree. And then anytime you see any green branches coming below the graft union, you want to snap them off as quickly as you can.
I was just going to say that anything that is growing from below the graft union is not going to produce the fruit that you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is not the fruit you are looking for.
Right.
He is not a Star Wars fan. So he didn't quite get that one. Go on.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool. Your job, and I, you know, if you've watched, and I think this slide is in every single one of my presentations because it is the single most important thing that you can do in growing anything, growing gardens, growing fruit trees, and that's creating healthy soil. 5 components of healthy soil are dirt, organic matter, water, airspace, and everything that's alive in the soil. The good news is the way to fix broken soil is add lots and lots of organic matter. So remember, 60% planting mix in the hole, worm castings in the hole, mycorrhiza in the hole. The worm castings and the mycorrhiza bring life to the space. And then when you put 6 inches of woody mulch on top, that adds more organic matter on top and helps build the healthy soil. And then you get to get stuff like this. This is a handful of woody mulch and leaf mulch from the urban farm. And basically what we're doing is we're growing soil like a forest. The leaves fall, nobody rakes them up. And you know, you get the white stuff. The white stuff there is really good. If you have mushrooms in your yard, you're doing something right. That is really good. So in fact, I'm looking out my back window right now and I see some mushrooms growing in my yard. It's like, woohoo. So that white stuff and mushrooms, that's a really good thing. That adds to your long-term success. And then and if you were in class on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whenever we did class, the 6-6 rule, this is an absolute must. 6 inches of depth, 6-foot diameter basin with woody mulch in it. Really, really important. That woody mulch does multiple things. It breaks down into really healthy soil at the interface between the woody mulch and the dirt. It holds on to water. It helps mitigate heat. This one happens to be also shade cloth over the top because it was up against the block wall. This picture was taken 6 months after this tree was planted. And this tree was planted as a 3-foot tall stick. I wish I had the before on this one. But this is how much it's grown in 6 months when you follow our guidelines. Here's another 6-6 basin, 6-foot diameter basin. This is more like an 8-foot diameter basin, 6 inches of woody mulch with a peach tree. Remember we talked about a little while ago about growth from below the graft point. That peach tree, the big one that's touching the roof height of the house, that is the rootstock, and that needed to be removed. So whenever you see odd stuff like that, you can always send me a picture. I love getting pictures from you guys. So send me a picture and say, this looks strange. What can we do about this? So greg@urbanfarm.org, use me. That's what I'm here for. I want to see you successful.
If you are going to send him a question about that, make sure you address it to him, put something in the subject line that says fruit tree question, and then make sure you have pictures up close, back about 4 feet, and then back about like 10 or 12 feet. So we can see up close, we can see the problem, back a little bit so we can see the tree itself as a whole, and then we can back further, we can see the environment.
Yes, Exactly. Thank you for that, Janice.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can see the brick basin around this tree. This was not a 6-foot basin. However, it's in the lawn. Um, Basically, what we needed to do with this one is we needed to keep the grass out. And those are cowpeas growing in the basin. And this was I think this was a 3-year tree. So it got planted and this was 3 years later. So this gives you an idea of the kind of basin that you can put in a lawn if you want to put in concrete. You could do this same thing. Um, happens to be gravel, needs lots more woody mulch. You can also do this same thing in grass, where you knock the grass back. You want to knock the grass back first by taking it out and letting the tree get established. Once the tree's established, the grass can come back just fine.
And you
But
do that, allowing it to get established is allowing it to focus on the roots. Roots, then shoots, then fruits. And so if you allow it to focus on getting a nice, good, strong, healthy root system with good soil and proper feeding and proper watering, then what you have is a strong place for it to grow further. And when the grass comes in, it's not competing as much for that new area.
Exactly. Because I have seen Bermuda grass outcompete and kill trees before.
Easy.
I've seen it. Hey, Jamie, I noticed that you put a question in the chat. Can you drop it in the Q&A? That way we don't miss it. All right. So my watering methodology. This is a watering methodology that started for me in 1975 when I planted my first fruit trees in a flood irrigated property or near we called it the Weldon House near 28th Street and Indian School. And it goes like this. You plant your citrus in late September and October. That's the best time to plant them. It gives them the best limb up between now and summer. You plant your deciduous in January or February. And I know this is going to freak some people out. You want to deep water it once a month until it starts getting hot. I promise you, that will be enough. If you follow our directions, if you do the foliar feeding, if you do the fertilizing, if you do the woody mulch, if you do what we tell you once a month during October through May is plenty of water for your trees.
Once a month of deep watering.
Yep, deep watering. And we're going to talk watering here in a minute. Janice has got a whole presentation about that. Then you water every 2 weeks. And you can use your moisture meter and your soil probe. We're going to talk about what those are here in a minute. You can use them to assist you. And then when it gets really hot, start watching your trees. And you want to start them about May 15th. You're going to want to start watering every 2 weeks. Let's say every 10 days to 2 weeks. The reason you want to be watering this way is this is really important. An overwatered tree and an underwatered tree, the damage looks the same. So what happens invariably is that somebody is watering their tree and they're overwatering it and it droops a little bit. So what do you think? Oh, it needs more water. So I water it more and it droops a little bit more. And before long, you've watered it to death. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. So if you follow these directions once a month in the winter, twice a month in the summer, and then when it gets really hot in June, start watching the tree. If the tree is drooping at that point, you know you need to water it. You know that it's the appropriate time. And this watering methodology, I didn't invent it. It came from my experience watching fruit trees at the Weldon House that got watered, guess what? Once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer on flood irrigation. And then I moved into the urban farm, which had flood irrigation. And guess what? Once a month in the winter, twice a month of the summer, and they thrived. In fact, there are still 2 citrus trees that were planted in the 1920s living in the backyard of the urban farm making fruit every year. So yes, once a month in the winter, twice a month in the summer is enough, with the caveat that after about 7 to 10 days, you need to look to see that tree, see if it's drooping. If it's drooping, you give it a little bit more water. Here's the other thing. Once the tree is established with our methodology, once a month in the winter, twice a month in the summer is going to be plenty. You can just set your timers to that and go. And once the trees are grown in past the first year, they're going to be perfect on that. All right. How much do you water? Great question. We can't tell you because we don't know what your soil's like. Janice has some soil things going on in the next few slides, and she's going to share some ways to think about it, but we can't tell you. You have to educate yourself. And the best practices are get a moisture meter and or a soil probe and use them. Use my watering strategy. And yes, you guessed it, more woody mulch. And I think, Janice, you're on.
I'm on. All right. So we got a few slides here to go over some of the watering. See, my love in growing fruit trees is recognizing the soil and the ecosystem that's happening beneath our trees. Now, this diagram here is just kind of for reference. This is a tree, and it's important to recognize when you talk about certain things that outside to outside range of your tree is important. But each tree is going to be needing a bit different amount of water. And so kind of generalizing here, a 3-foot wide bush is going to need maybe 11 gallons. An 8-foot tree is going to need about 38 gallons. And everything in between is a little bit different. So it's really, when somebody says, how much water should I be giving my trees? Well, it depends what size your tree is. It depends what type of soil you have. It depends. So we're going to help you figure that out. Next slide, Greg.
Hold on before we go.
It goes on the next slide. It goes on the next slide.
Is it?
Yep.
The shadow underneath it is called the drip line. Is that on the? No, no.
Correct.
Let me. So
Okay.
underneath, you can see the shadow, right? Like the light's shining right down on the tree. The blue shadow underneath, that is what is called the drip line. Just know that for future.
Yeah. So when you're talking about how much water to use, if you are using a drip irrigation system, and those little ends of the end of that little spaghetti type line has an emitter, and those emitters have different numbers. You can have some that are half a gallon, some that are 2 gallons, some that are a little bit more than that. If you're using that, and if you're saying that you have maybe 2 gallons per hour on one of those emitters, and your tree is running for, you need like 6 gallons per hour if you have 3 of them, it's very different. It depends how many emitters you have going to your tree. It depends how big your tree is. It gets really complicated for each individual tree, and you can sit down and do the math on it, and then you're going to have to kind of visit it every year to make sure you've got the right one. It's so time consuming and involved to stay on top of this. And as you add more trees, there's some math involved. I'm like, it's too much. Let's make it simple. Let's step on to the next page.
Maybe.
All right. What? Not that far.
Oh.
There you go.
All right. We got that one. We got that one. There we go.
Silly Greg. Okay. The way to figure out if you're watering your tree enough is to pay attention to the water depth. Now, this graphic from an AMWA brochure is perfect. The picture, the little bush on the right has roots that are going down about 2 feet. The tree on the right has roots that are going down 3 feet or more. This is important because as you're looking at your trees, you're going to think about a brand new tree, brand new, just in the ground, an hour or two. Well, you know how far the roots go down. You put them there. They're only 12 inches, 18 inches deep. So when you start with a brand new tree, you're going to want to make sure the water gets to that depth and a little bit beyond that. Bushes tend to need, when they're fully grown, about 2-foot depth of water reach. Trees tend to need about 3 feet down. So that's your goal, and it changes with your soil type on how effective this works. Next one.
For whatever reason, PowerPoint's not cooperating today.
Usually if you push the space bar, it works. Okay.
There we go.
This is a really good picture, a graphic showing different types of soil. Now, the picture on the big one on the left there is water flowing through sand. Sand gravels are really big comparatively to the gravels or the pieces of soil in clay. And what happens is because they're big and they're all different shapes and there's a lot of, they're not lining up next to each other, there tends to be a lot of airspace between sand. And so water will go right through sand very easily. You can tell if you have sand, if you pull out sun and you have it in your hand and you roll it between your fingers, it feels kind of gritty. If you have clay soil, then what happens is these are really, really fine particles. They are small. They don't have a lot of porosity to them. They tend to layer very easily. And what happens is the water that's trying to get through that takes its time navigating through the different particles, and it takes longer for the water to go through in depth in clay. That's going to affect how fast and how far your water goes into your soil. If you have a lot of organic material, that will break up the sand and the clay. And you can see kind of a piece of the picture on the bottom. There's like a little piece of sand next to a little piece of clay. That's not even close to what the real representation is. Like the sand's like really big and the clay is like really tiny if you compare the two. And that's going to be important when you're watering, because it also shows not only how fast water goes through, it shows how fast water goes out. So go to the next picture. Now, in this picture here, the one on the left shows sand. When you're watering soil that has a high sand concentration, the water will go in and fairly straight down. So you can put like a gallon of water on this soil and it'll go down about 12 inches of sand. The same amount of water on a very loamy soil will go out as far as it goes down. So it kind of goes out and down around the same consistency speed. But if you have clay soil, because it takes so long for the water to go down, it actually goes out farther. Clay particles tend to be flat. That's just the way they line up. They don't line up like this in the ground. They line up flat. It'll take longer for the water to go down and it spreads out, which means the depth that you want the water to get to takes longer in clay soil than it does in sandy soil. So sandy soil will require less water, but more often, and super clayey soil will require more water, but less frequently because it takes longer for it to get out of it. Go on. All right, I have a trick for clay soil. This is important because a lot of areas in our valley have soil that's really clay, especially around the outside edges of the valley. This might be happening in other areas of the state as well. I'm not super familiar with your type of soil types, but you can do a little test to find out. So if you have a high clay soil, what you can do besides adding all the organic material that you can, but when you're watering, divide your single watering event over 2 or maybe even 3 days. And what this means is when Greg says water once a month or water twice a month, pick your day that you're watering, water half of the water that you think you need on day 1. And then you can go out and you can maybe even test it with a soil probe to see how far down it goes the next morning and do the second day of the same amount of water or approximately and allow it to settle in. Because if you give it that overnight breathing room for the water to settle, the time that it takes to go through the soil, the water will go down to a depth that's going to be better for you. And then you can follow up with more water on top because the water has weight and it will sink down. This is going to give your trees the soil around your trees, the time to absorb the water, to spread it out, and your trees will be able to, you'll be able to judge how much water you have in your soil. And you can use a soil probe to test to see how far down it goes.
We have those at the lot.
We do have those at the lot.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to order more.
Yeah, we have a guy down in, it used to be in Phoenix. He lives down in Tucson now, and he just does a really good job of them.
Yeah, he does. Nice graduated ones. When you push a soil probe in the ground, it will, you can see how far down it goes. Now, one of the things that we're talking about, all the things we're talking about right now, these are the intermediate level in the leveling up class that we're going to be talking about in the next
Next class.
next slide.
Next slide, maybe. There it is.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Fertilizing. So we actually do two kinds of fertilizing that we highly suggest. Well, actually three, but two of them are kind of synonymous. And the first one is your granular fertilizer. And the granular fertilizer is typically made up of NPK. I'm sure you've seen three numbers on a package that says, 10, 10, 10, or 355, or,
The numbers
227.
vary.
The
Yeah.
numbers vary, exactly. We have a nice balanced granular fertilizer, either from Bioflora or Tanks. Bioflora is crumbles or Tank Super Mix. This is your macro fertilizer. This is your fertilizer that gives you fruit and boosts the tree's ability to grow. And we suggest fertilizing on Valentine's Day, Tax Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. And what we suggest is each application date use 1 pound or 2.5 cups per 1 inch of trunk diameter. And what that looks like is this. So this was the apricot tree that you saw in my the front yard at the urban farm a little while ago with the pooch in it. It's a 4-inch diameter trunk at the base. So if you have a 4-inch diameter trunk, if you're going by cups, you're going to put 10 cups of fertilizer on this tree in the basin around the tree each time you fertilize. If you're doing it by the pound, a 4-inch trunk gets 4 pounds each time you fertilize.
It's ballpark. You don't have to like flatten your cups. It's ballpark.
Right.
About 2.5 cups.
It's just getting fertilizer to them. Again, Valentine's Day, Tax Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day.
Organic fertilizer is really good. And you can tell an organic fertilizer by numbers that are pretty close to each other, like 655, 233. Those numbers are important because then it's not out of balance one way or another. It usually, if you see numbers that are really high on one or another, then it's been made that way, usually by some sort of assistance of a different chemical. The nice thing about organic fertilizers is that it's a slow feed. It'll be there for the full time that it needs. It grows. It's a take up as the tree needs it, and you have you don't have that fertilizer burn that you would get with a synthetic fertilizer.
Exactly. And one way to notice, first of all, just get the stuff from us. We have it available all year round, either in the Bioflora or the Tank Super Mix. But if you're looking, anything over 10, 10, 10, any of those numbers are over 10, that is generally speaking not organic fertilizer. Those are made from petrochemical products. The reason we want to use organic fertilizer is because the organic fertilizer isn't as harsh it's not harsh on the soil, and it really supports the soil life.
Because we have been teaching for a long time about how important soil is, and it's the ecosystem. Everything that's alive in that soil works together for the benefit of your tree. And you have a healthy ecosystem, you're going to have a healthier tree.
Amen to that. So water, deep water, right after you fertilize to get the nutrients in. And we're going to talk about how to get it past the woody mulch here in a minute.
We have two different kinds. We have Bioflora, which comes in a 50-pound bag, and we have Super Mix, which comes in a 10-pound. They're really comparable in their quality. It's just the size that makes it for you, which one is going to be effective. If you have 5 or fewer fruit trees, then probably the Super Mix is going to be the better purchase price for you, because you just don't want to store it. If you have the space to store it, or you have more than 5 trees, then definitely the 50-pound bag of Bioflora is going to be the better deal for you.
Yeah. Amen.
We love both of them though.
store.urbanfarm.org/granular. All right. So here is my shovel wedge technique. I get this question a lot. Do we need to get the fertilizer below the woody mulch? You do. So take a sharpshooter shovel, or really any kind of shovel. I like the sharpshooter because they're about 18 inches long, and you
And
stick
a
it in the
narrow.
stick it all the way into the ground, and then rock it back and forth. That's going to leave a wedge in the ground. And for newly planted trees, you can do 3 places around it. For mature trees, 6 to 8 places around the tree, underneath the tree,
In the well.
in the well. Yep. And the green circle there below shows you the wedge. You just pour the granular fertilizer in and then cover it up. So this does 2 things for you. It gets the fertilizer below the woody mulch. If you have a dog, never put the fertilizer on the ground level. The dog will roll in it, they'll eat it, they'll love it, and that includes the mycorrhiza. You want to get that below grade and then
He's
cover it
speaking
up.
from experience.
I am. All
So
right.
when we talk about, do you need to pull back your mulch? You don't have to do that much mulch pullback, just a little space.
Mhm.
If you just do a wedge, then it'll open it up. You can throw it in there. The bigger the tree, the more spaces. You just create that batch for you of the fertilizer. If you're going to throw azomite in there at the same time, mix it up together, find your wedges, put it in, cover that gap up, and then do your deep watering.
Yay.
If you're doing drenching, fill those in, cover them up, do your drench, and then do your deep watering.
Yeah, we're going to talk drenching here in a minute. So there's foliar feeding with liquid fertilizers. I
You know what?
realize this is a tomato plant that is being fertilized. Go ahead, Janice.
Nothing. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I just remembered something we should add earlier in the class.
All right. Foliar feed. This is the foliars that we sell. This is High Creations. They're an amazing crew in West Phoenix. This is a locally made product. And since we started foliar feeding regularly trees 3 or 4 years ago, the difference is stellar, especially around the the heat factor in the summertime. It makes a huge difference. In fact, I have an 18-minute video that I shot with Scott that I'm going to put on YouTube. Janice, Scott Murray is one of my mentors, and he planted in 2021 in January. They planted out 80 fruit trees on their property, and they regularly fertilized them with foliar feeding. And in year number 2, so this year, 1 year in, granted they were in San Diego, so they aren't dealing with the same heat we are, but 1 year in, the trees had grown a huge amount, and they were actually making a harvestable amount of fruit. So
That's
foliar,
cool.
yeah, foliar feed is a spray on or a drench. This is something that we have, and thank you, Glenn, if you're out there listening. Glenn is one of the Rockstar team members. He taught us how to retrofit the pump sprayer with that, take off that silly little wand that, takes forever to put it out. And we put on a mod kit. So the mod kit is this little white doohickey here that gets plugged into the sprayer, and the sprayer handle. So this is what we use. I've got one here. I've been using it, and it makes all the difference in the world. And so these are the foliar fertilizing products that we have. What do you have for us, Janice?
Okay, so we have foliar fertilizing. I mean, we have this collection of amazing products, and the Noble Gills and the Essence, the 2 outside ones, those are the nutrients. The Noble Gills is a fish emulsion. It does have a little bit of a smell to it, so we don't recommend it for indoor products.
It has a lot of a smell to it.
Don't recommend it for indoor products,
Right.
but it's good nitrogen boost for the trees. It has a 3:1 fertilizing ratio. The
And
Essence.
hold on, this is actually getting sprayed on the trunk of the tree and the leaves and the branches of the tree.
When you're foliar fertilizing, yes. There's so much more to this. I want to do a class just on this, and we have. So let's try to take some of the meat of it. Essence is the one on the right. That is a kelp, liquid kelp emulsion. It's got growth hormones in it. It's fabulous. It is the nutrients, the boost that it has for the trees and the plants is wonderful. We usually want to combine either one of those with Sol, which is a humic acid that actually communicates to the plant itself and tells it to open its breathing apparatus. So the tree's breathing holes on the leaves are encouraged to open with the Sol, and the parts of the Sol get absorbed and the parts of your nutrients get absorbed. And it's just a beautiful intake, almost virtual, I'm gonna say almost instant, but so rapid of results that it's just the trees are going, yum, yum, what a great meal. The heart is a heavier combination of acids, humic and a few others, fulvic acids and stuff. It is a little bit thicker consistency, and you use that for your drench applications. But you can put all of these in the soil. You would use the noble gills and Sol in your pre-flowering stage, and you would use the essence and Sol virtually year-round, every couple of weeks. Now, please take my leveling up class. I go into this more. However, this is the planting, watering, and fertilizing class. So I want to take a moment. If you haven't already done this, download the citrus catalog or the deciduous catalog, depending on what type of trees you have, because on those pages in the catalog, there is a section called planting recommendations, and it gives you the ratio. These products used in conjunction during your planting stage will help boost the whole soil ecosystem. Now, if you have a citrus, what this means is when you dig your hole, before you put the soil and the plant back in, you're going to make a little mixture, about 1 gallon of water with a cap of each of these. I think it's a cap, 3 caps of each of these. And with the 1 gallon of water, and you're going to use this, and you're going to splash or spray this on the outside of the hole. Get that outside of that hole nice and damp before you put the new soil back in. And that's going to just create a ring of wonderland for your roots to start growing out to. And then whatever water you have left over this mixture, you're going to pour it on your planted plant when you're done for citrus. For deciduous, it's a little bit different. You're going to actually soak your roots in a mixture of about 5 gallons of water and these products, and you're going to let it sit while you're digging or mixing up the soils in your hole. You'll let it sit there for a little while, and then you're going to put that nice and moistened root system in the soil, and you're going to take a portion of that water and pour it on your plants. That is part of the leveling up. It's part of the ultra success level for our leveling up program.
And I've said this for years, you're going to spend as much on the fruit tree as you are on supplements and planting materials the first year. Just know that. But what you're going to get is faster, more healthy trees and fruit that tastes amazing.
We love these products so much. And because the foliar combination of Sol, noble gills, and essence made such a difference, we offered that in a trio where you buy those 3, you can get the heart for free. So that 4 combo there is a steal for us. It's one of our buy 3, get 1 free options, but it's just that combo. And it'll last a while. I've got a whole collection in the general store catalog of how long they last.
Yeah, and these 4 quarts here, this is good for a year's worth of fertilizing for what?
It depends. It depends on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it right here. I've got it right here. 1 quart of Sol is enough for 10 trees for a year following our basic program. 1 quart of essence is enough for about 30 trees for a year.
Nice.
1 quart of soil is good for about 20 trees. And 1 quart of heart is for about 1 tree for a year, 1 to 1.5 trees following our program, at least based on the numbers that I calculated a while back.
Perfect.
And we do
Okay.
have the heart, the soul, and the essence in 5-gallon containers.
Noble Gills?
I don't want to bring Noble Gills in 5-gallon. Nobody goes through it fast enough. And
Got it. Okay. All right. And so what Janice and the guys over at High Creations did a couple of years ago was they put together a month-over-month, here, this is what you need to do. So this covers the foliar application rates, it covers the drench application rates, and it covers the granular application rates. And this is available laminated in our store. And on the other side is the garden nutrition schedule.
don't bother writing down these. Just go ahead and get it downloaded of the whole the whole page.
Exactly. So you can get it laminated. We sell them laminated. It's also in your member area. You can download it for free.
And if you order the combo, it comes a link to download. It comes right with your order.
Nice. This is so this one was winter and spring. Yes, you want to be foliar feeding in the winter, even if there's no leaves
Especially in
on it.
Arizona.
Especially in Arizona, yeah. And then this is the summer and the fall. Talks about, you know, what and how. All right, so Jamie has a question. Can you plant both cowpeas and sweet potatoes under the same tree? You absolutely can. In fact, I suspect there are cowpeas and sweet potatoes in this
Yes,
picture.
that's my yard. I can definitely see cowpeas and sweet potatoes in that picture.
Yeah.
We lose Raymond, but
yeah, the thing about a cover crop for your trees, and I've got another slide that talks about the heat mitigation that it does. It's helping build the soil. Cowpeas are nitrogen fixers. They're digging in the soil. We have them available at our tree lot in January. This is probably one of the more important things that you can do, and it's so simple. You need to make sure that, and I said this earlier, you need to make sure that it's on the same watering schedule as the trees. Because if you put watermelons underneath your trees, they're going to need water more often, and that's just not going to work. So the cowpeas and the sweet potatoes are the way to go. A couple of one failure and one success. And then there's this guy. I have done everything per your instructions, and still, this is what I got. The tree didn't make it. This happened to be my tree in my front yard at the urban farm in Phoenix, and it didn't make it. Sometimes it happens. That's what we're here to help you with. I would have wanted, you know, somebody to, if this was your tree and it was looking like this, losing a few leaves at the top, you're going to snap a picture of this in this, you know, like a picture like this, and send it to me and say, what do I do here? All right. And then this one, this is brilliant. This is from Farmer Rick. Earlier this year, you helped me out with my dying lime tree. I watched your webcast, drastically altered the ground around the tree, and bought mulch fertilizer and fertilizer from you. These are his words and his pictures. This is the difference that 4 months made. That's like, that is 4 months. That's just like big wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, here we go. The most revolutionary discovery that we have made. These are sweet potatoes that were growing in the front yard of the urban farm. It was 89 degrees under the sweet potatoes. The same time, it was 140 degrees with no ground cover, and 120 degrees 6 inches down. This is the difference between your trees dying or your plants dying or making it. So make sure that you plant some ground cover. And then we have our citrus program, which has been a little bit of some hiccups this year, but we got trees today.
Not really hiccups, more like some concerns that got alleviated.
Yeah. This is a a 5-gallon tree on the left, a 15-gallon tree in the middle, and a 24-inch boxed tree on the right. Unfortunately, we didn't bring any 24-inch box trees in, but from what I saw from the pictures that came in this morning from our unloading of trees, the citrus trees are at least this nice, which means they've grown out really nice. And we will be open September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, which is next, if you're listening to this live, which is next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We will be open the following Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which is September 29th, 30th, and October 1st.
Plan on those days.
Plan on those days. You want to get your trees picked up and get them moved home and in the ground by mid-October. And you will see my smiling face on the lot. I will be on the lot starting next Thursday.
Me too.
So, and then we have our early bird bundles of apples. Well, check out the early bird bundles. Maybe Janice, you can put the link to the bundles in the chat box. What we
You can see the bundles on our catalog that you can download at urbanfarm.org or fruittrees.org.
Fruittrees.org, perfect. Basically what we do is we bundle them up. So the early bird apricot is Acadian and a gold-kissed apricot. The early bird apple is an Anna and a Dorset golden. The early bird peach is Tropic Snow Mid-Pride Desert Gold. These are the ones that we've found that work the best here, and we discount them. And the bundle pricing is available through October. And then
we do have one more bundle. We have the perfect picks, but that's not, it's limited. Not every tree is available on that, but you can, like, if you want a peach and an apricot or an apple and an apricot, you can use, or actually you need to have 3 trees. So you can pick 3 trees in that perfect pick.
Perfect. And those are available through the end of October. And then you pick them up in January. All right. So our whole program is designed around education first. It always has been. I started giving this particular class. It's morphed a lot since 23 years has passed. In my living room, I remember the first few fruit tree classes I gave, people came to the house and I'd have 3 or 4 people in the living room. And I'd do a PowerPoint and we'd chat. And so we're education first, number one. And we've got 4 different classes. We'll talk about them in a little while. Take all 4 classes, we highly suggest. And then pre-order your trees. By pre-ordering your trees, you get the best pricing, you get the best selection, and it helps us plan for the program. The fruit tree program trees from this year that are getting delivered in January to us, we placed an order for them in March. So the more idea we can get on who's claimed what trees, the better, the easier it is for us and the better pricing that you get. So your next steps, take our other classes. Join us at the Urban Farm pop-up nursery in September to pick up your pre-ordered citrus trees and buy deciduous planting supplies. You can pre-dig and pre-fill your whole planting holes for January. If you're going to do that, I would pre-dig the deciduous tree holes and put the 60-40 mix of soil and planting mix in the hole. Just leave it at that. Add the supplements when you actually plant the trees. You're going to pick up your citrus starting next week, and you're going to pick up your deciduous trees in January. You can get a lot more information at fruittrees.org. Our ultimate goal is fruit. You can check availability at store.urbanfarm.org. And we have an entire membership site at theurbanfarm.customerhub.com with a mind-blowing amount of information. So just, you can go there, theurbanfarm.customerhub.com, and there's classes and PDFs and planting videos and all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot.
There's a lot there. There's an obscene amount of information there. We're deeply, deeply committed to your success through education. And we do have a guarantee on our trees. Here's how it works. We ask that you take our classes and do everything we instruct you to do. 6-foot diameter basin, 6 inches of woody mulch, fertilizing 4 times a year, watering properly, foliar feeding. If you do all of that and your tree starts struggling, send me a picture up close of the problem and 8 feet back, and let's see if we can diagnose it early. If for some reason the diagnosis doesn't work and your tree dies, what we do is we split the cost of a new tree with you the following season. And we started doing this, oh my gosh, what, 8-10 years ago, Janice? A while back. I started doing this a while back because I'm this committed to your success through education. And I'll tell you what, we only replace about 10 trees a year.
Very few.
Very, very few. And we sell about 4,500 trees a year. So there's something going right here. There you go. All right, boy, do we have questions.
We do have questions. We're going to try to go through these as fast as we can. If for some reason you see, okay, 2 things. If you see a question that you like, upvote it. We'll try to get to those first. If you don't get your question answered, we have special classes where we're just questions. We have nothing planned ahead of time. And then we're also here for wherever we can. So we're doing our best. We'll stick around to answer these.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get all these questions answered. Jeffrey says, would Mel's mix for square foot gardening be acceptable for planting mix? You could use it, but Mel's mix isn't local. We highly suggest, because the microbes that come in from Minnesota in the soil are going to be different than the microbes that are in Phoenix in the soil. The planting mix that we have, Farmer Greg's planting mix, is probably less expensive than Mel's mix. And it's local. So we highly suggest that.
Andrea asks, is burlap okay to cover a wall? Absolutely. However, burlap is brown, and it's going to be right next to the wall, and it's just going to not be, it's going to be more reflective, and it's just not as good. What you might look for is something a little bit more like more woodish. You can put some wood up, you can put some trellis up, you can put some green stuff up. Creating a space between the actual item and the wall is going to help create an air gap, and that will reduce what you're using for shade. It'll reduce the heat transfer as well.
Yeah. I am looking for, this picture right here.
We'll talk about it more in planting and caring tree.
Yeah, this picture here. Let me show you what I did at the urban farm. So this is the block wall that was between me and the neighbor on the south. And there was a wooden fence. By the way, this wood slats was the wooden fence. I took apart the wooden fencing. I reused the 2x4s that I mounted a frame on the wall, and then I mounted the wooden slats on the wall. That left about a 2-inch space between the wooden slats and the block wall for insulation. So this is, this was just another cool way of mitigating the heat. I see the problem with burlap is that there's not enough mass there to hold off the heat. Whereas if you're using the bamboo sheets that you can buy, at least there's a little bit more mass there.
There's mass and there's air in the bamboo too. All right, Jeffrey says, do worm castings produce worms, or do we need to bring them in?
Oh yeah, you use worm castings, you're gonna get worms.
If you keep your worm castings fresh and moist, then yes, you have the possibility of having worm eggs produce worms. If they dry out, there ain't no option. It's still good fertilizer, but the life microbes, you've lost out on that. So keep your worm castings in a cool, shady place and moisten them occasionally.
And we actually get our worm castings from Arizona Worm Farm, and they're fresh. So we are getting a ton, literally 2,000 pounds of worm castings next week. It'll be fresh. So keep them fresh and use them right away. And yeah, you're good to go. Jamie
Jake,
says, can you use both cowpeas and sweet potatoes? Sure you can. You know, we do that. I did that at the urban farm all the time.
I don't stress on it. I just let it go where it goes. It's great.
Exactly.
Jim says, does it matter how much fruit is on the tree?
I'm not quite clear, Jim, what you mean. Can you give
We're
us
talking
more?
about planting, watering, and fertilizing. So yeah, you'll have to give us a little bit more
Yeah.
on that one.
Leanne says, for existing trees, can we dig down a well and amend, then put woody mulch in? My trees are in an irrigated lawn. Yes. While Janice answers the next question, I am going to drop my video on how to fix a broken basin. And you may have, in a flood irrigated lawn, you may have to put a barrier around it so it doesn't wash the woody mulch away. But I'm going to go ahead and grab my how to fix a broken basin video.
All
that I
right.
put.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, yes, yes. The answer is yes. Doug says the granular fertilizing schedule and amount that we recommend, is it the same for all types of citrus and deciduous trees? Yes, we try to keep it very simple. The organic fertilizer that we recommend has good ratios for all of them. If you are combining it with a foliar program, then you're going to be making up for any deficiencies that might be needed for the particular increments, elements. And azomite is the multivitamin combination. So our program is set up. Granular fertilizing is important. And I go over that a little bit more in depth in the level up class coming up later. Not today. I think it's on Wednesday. And then, but the citrus and the deciduous trees, yeah, they'll be about the same. We just want for simple. That way you don't have to focus on it too hard. Cool. Andrea says, I have to plant my citrus tree in pots. I want to keep them somewhat small, about 6 feet. What size pot would I need? Greg's not a big fan of putting in pot. I would say a minimum of 3 feet across.
Yep.
Minimum of 3 feet across, because you need that space for the tree to be able to grow out and to have the insulation of the soil. Our plots, if they are in the sun, they are getting baked. If you take a temperature gun out there, take a thermometer and stick it out there, the sun side of the tree will go through water so much faster. I actually went out and did a consultation on a lady's yard. She had this gorgeous little lime tree, but it was struggling. And we did 2 things. We checked it with a thermometer after we checked it with a moisture meter, and the back side of the tree where the shade was staying moist. The front side of the tree where the sun was hitting it every afternoon was dry. And so the roots on that side weren't growing. And then we tried it with the temperature, and you can tell what the temperature, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but there was like a 10 or 15 degree difference front to back. It was pretty, I would say more than that. It was pretty significant. So keep them shaded, go for at least 3 feet, and make sure you monitor your watering and never skip fertilizing a potted plant.
Never. And your watering isn't going to be once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer in a pot.
That's different.
Yeah. Worm castings in Phoenix. We have them available at
Support
our
us.
lot. Please support us. Or you can get them at Arizona Worm Farm, where we get them at.
We support them.
And we support them, exactly. Judith says, if we have woody mulch over the whole orchard area, will the peas and sweet potatoes grow through that? Yes-ish.
I don't have a problem.
No, you don't? Well, once they're established, you have to, when you first plant them, I don't plant them right in the woody mulch. I make a 6-inch divot, put planting mix in it, put your seeds and sweet potatoes in there, cover it up with a little woody mulch. Once they're established, they'll be good.
Jamie says, do you have the replay video available for this past week's class? Because I had to leave a little early. It's on YouTube, right?
It will be on YouTube. I'm going to do that as soon as
and in the member area. We store all our videos in the member area. So, and some of them we put up on YouTube. but you can find them indefinitely in the member area.
Is it a problem if the watering in the basin soaks the citrus tree trunk? No. You don't want to, however, pile woody mulch up against the trunk of the tree and water it long term. So
It's an outdoor plant. It's quite used to getting wet.
yeah, exactly. MS says, I am interested in having a phone Zoom conversation with Greg. How soon would I be able to get one if I submit a request today? I think there's slots available on Monday, right?
I'll go look.
Yeah, I think there's a slot available on Monday. I'll tell you what, you will learn. I do virtual consults. They last about 45 minutes. We do them on the phone. You send me pictures of your yard, and you will learn so much. I've been doing them for about a decade. I used to do them in my driveway in person at home. People would send me pictures or bring pictures of their yard, and I do them there. And I've always guaranteed money back guarantee on them, and I've never given anybody their money back. That's how committed I am to making sure that you get an amazing amount of data. So
There are spots available. You need to schedule today in order to get Monday, because 24 hours out they close. You need to schedule today to get Monday. We do have one spot on Monday. The next one is available on October 3rd. Grab it now. If that doesn't work and you need some other time, it's going to be really
Email
tough
me.
with Greg being at the lot. So if those times don't work, reach out to us and we'll see what we have.
Yeah, we'll make something work. Ramana Gale says, perk test. Well, my trees were planted 5 years ago, 15 gallon, and I didn't know about a perk test. Caliche here. What are your thoughts about drilling holes around the base, long drill head to aerate the soil? Having some trouble with lack of production on Tango and Caracara, the Eureka Lemon and Palm are doing great. Well, I'd want to decipher what the problem is in the first place. It may not be a water perk issue. If it was me, I would dig a hole in the area where I have my trees and I would do a perk test and see what happens. I suspect it has more to do with nutrition to the trees.
Yeah, at this point, we're talking 5 years. If you had a true percolation issue, you would start to see some of the issues from it. You're going to have to send a picture. We're going to have to look at the leaves to see how it is, see how it acts, what your watering schedule is. It's more to diagnose than that. But Greg's idea, if you want to do a perk test in between your trees,
yeah,
just do a perk test and see what happens.
Romana says, I got your woody mulch this May and now I see grubs in the soil below for the first time. Is that okay? I say it is. It's soil life. And the grubs are not a problem. I don't think they're a problem.
If you have a weakened tree, the grubs will attack a weakened tree. But if you have a healthy tree, the tree will repel the grubs pretty good. If you find them, pull them out and grab them, throw them in a chicken or throw them up where the birds can get them. They don't have to be there. But seriously, they're part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they eat decomposing wood.
What are our hours at the lot? Are they 9 to 3?
9 to 3, we take lunch off, and we close the lot so that our tree crew can take a break. We can have lunch together and actually say, hi, how are you doing to our crew? And we get through our stuff, talk about what we need to do, kind of clean up a little bit, and we come back. So yeah, but if you have an order already and you have a queue for citrus, then you'll have the link for scheduling.
Jim says, do the fruit trees need more watering when they are loaded with fruit? They do not. If you are doing what we instruct you to do, the watering schedule that we suggest is perfect, whether they have fruit on them or not.
The tree will take up what it needs. And if you're using the test, the soil, the moisture meter is a tool that will tell you when to water. The soil probe is a tool that will tell you if you watered enough. So if you use a moisture meter, the gauge will go from dry to wet. And what you're going to do is when you water, you should be up in the wet zone. I don't know which way your gauge is going, but if you water and you're up in the wet zone and you let it come down to just above the dry zone and then water again, and take a log, notate how often you need to water, and it'll be probably once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer.
Cool. All right, so Ramana, here are a couple things here. Granular, I'm having difficulty getting it down to mix in with granular. Getting down to mix, just use the shovel, stick the shovel in, rock it back and forth. That's going to leave a V-shaped wedge in the ground, pour it in, cover it up.
Ramona, I used to have really bad knees, and that was, I've lost weight, so my knees are a little bit better, but that was truly a simple way to do it, was to just get myself a little bucket of how much I'm going to put, use the shovel, pour it from standing, pour it in the hole, cover it up, stomp on it with your foot, you're done. There's no bending necessary. You just pour the water on, and the water will start blending, mixing it out.
So, and he goes on to say, is liquid heart sufficient? No, you need granular and the liquid. There's no mycorrhiza or azomite. So in the chat, I'll post it again, is my how to fix a basin around the tree, and I would highly suggest that you do that to your trees.
Is it okay up against the tree trunk? No. That picture that we had where you had the shade coming out and the lines going down, that's your drip circle. Where you're going to be putting your fertilizer, your organic fertilizer, is just inside your drip circle, because that's where the most nutrition uptake for your tree happens, is in that last foot or so of tree roots. So put it just inside the drip circle, and then you don't have to climb all the way in by the tree.
Amen. Judith wants to know, do we put cocoa coir in the planting holes? There is, in our planting mix, there is some cocoa coir, I think. I think there's, in the Farmer Greg's planting mix. You don't need to
add it.
You don't need to add it on top of, because the planting mix is great.
See, what you're looking for is you want to add organic material to start breaking up the sand or the clay in our soil. Organic material is going to be already in, there's already a compost collection inside the planting mix.
Yeah, perfect. Let's see, Romana says, essence, why use only once a month? As Derek said in a former webinar, how do you drench with heart? That's two questions.
Essence, you can use essence once a month, and that is kind of like the minimum dosage that we would recommend. If you want to step it up, you can go to twice a month or every 2 weeks. You can use it either way. So once a month is going to see a benefit, and that's going to be the easier way to do it. But we would recommend, if you can manage it, to go up to twice a month. Drenching with heart, super simple. You set your heart, if you have a nice big 5-gallon jug, which is what I have for all my trees, I set it up on a little stand, and I've got the little jar. I turn the knob, I put in about 1 to 3 ounces, depending on the size of the tree, and I put that in a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and then I pour the water in the bucket. The water going in the bucket after I put the heart helps mix it up and aerate it. That 5 gallons gets brought over. Doesn't matter what size tree is. The 1 to 3 changes on the tree, but the 5 gallons stays the same, and pour that around the basin, which has already been granular fertilized on those months. I pour that around the basin for each tree. Then I go back to the next tree, and I usually set that up so that the hose and the bucket are somewhat close to the trees, and the heart is right there, and I just bring it over there and I fill it up kind of close to the trees.
Yay.
Although I get Justin to do this for me now because I'm so busy.
There you go. This is from Jim. How deep do you need to insert the soil probe?
How deep can you insert soil probe?
That's a better question. It'll go down 3 feet.
It will go down as far as the water is. Your goal,
it's 3 feet long, so it'll only go 3 feet.
Your goal is to get to the depth that's required. A bush needs about 2 feet. A tree needs about 3 feet. And you're going to do this the day after you water. So you're going to allow the soil, it might take a little bit longer with clay soil, so that like the day after or it's 2 days after you water, you go out with soil probe and you push it down. Now, you will be hindered by rocky soil. You will be hindered by caliche, because soil probe won't go through that. But if you have a nice, good organic material and you push it in, you stick it and you push it down, it'll go down as far as the moisture will go without obstruction of boulders or caliche. There are sections in my yard that my soil probe will only go down about 18 to 20 inches because I've got caliche in a large pan, but I know where to look in other places, and that's where I check it. Underneath the tree ring, I go in just inside the tree ring and I go down, and there are places that if I time it right, I can go down more than 2 feet. And then I end up hitting rocks and stuff.
And the moisture depth, for newly planted trees, you want to go down 2 feet? 18
The
inches to 2 feet?
moisture, listen, we got two different things. The soil probe can go down about 3 feet. You want the water to go down about 3 feet for your trees. The moisture meter is only about 8 to 10 inches long. You're going to do that a little closer in to the tree, and that you're going to do as you're trying to decide if it's time to water. Then you're going to stick that in. You're going to only stick that in about 6 to 8 inches. What you're noticing with this is how much of the water in the top 6 inches of soil has decreased from the soil. It's not going to tell you what's down low. It's only going to tell you the top 6 inches. And when the top 6 to 8 inches are getting dry, then it's time to water again.
Yeah, well, and so newly planted trees, you want the soil probe to go down about 2 feet. Ideally, once the tree is established, you want the soil probe to go down 3 feet. And here's the thing, the soil probe will go down through wet soil. It stops at dry soil.
And rocks and caliche.
And rocks and caliche.
If you're going down and it just kind of slows to a stop, then that's going to be dry soil. If you're going down and you hit a clink, that's going to be a rock or caliche.
Right. Please talk about, Romana says, please talk about cover crops. Yes, nitrogen fixers, but don't they also use up some water and nutrients? Yeah, probably. And they're shading the ground and long-term adding organic matter, nitrogen into the soil. So it's a collaborative thing, not a
deficiency or combative. Exactly. It's not a competition. It's a collaboration.
Very good.
It is basically what you're doing is you're creating the start of a guild.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, we got all of them.
And Romana says, thank you so much for the details and wisdom. Carol says, what causes thick skin oranges? It depends.
Variety mostly, right?
Probably mostly variety. That's the variety of it. I'd need more information and pictures. You can send them to me at greg@urbanfarm.org or fruittrees@urbanfarm.org, and I'd be more than happy to take a look. It may be, I mean, do the oranges taste good? It may be just that's the kind of orange it is.
When I was younger and before I realized that I was allergic to citrus, one of my favorite parts of eating my orange was to eat the white part of the orange as well. I used to love that. Most
Romana
probably
says,
because I wasn't allergic to it.
Right. Romana says, creating a guild, love that. Absolutely. Christy talked about her guild guide at the launch
Kristen Parsons. Kristen Parsons. Yeah. Yes. Go back and watch the launch part of the kickoff or the launch party from the September 10th and look at Kristen's part. You'll see her information, some of her information on guilds.
Yeah. Would improper fertilizing timing impact the skin? Not the timing, but quantity. The amount, the quantity, here's the thing.
Or if you skip it.
Or if you skip it, the more nutrients you can get to the trees and plants, the better they're going to do, the better fruit's going to taste, that's going to perform better. And Carol, it may just be the orange. I need to see more pictures. Doug says, when digging the hole for a new tree in hard clay soil, any suggestions for making the dig easier? Yeah, rent a jackhammer.
Okay, let's talk about this, Doug. Clay soil is a pain. What we ended up doing is we ended up leaving woody mulch on the soil for a while to help start breaking down the soil. Then we tried digging with the pick, and because of the rocks and stuff, we were running into problems. Because of the caliche, we were running into problems. Because of the clay, we were running into problems. And we found the best solution was either an auger or a electric shovel. Both of those helped dig holes in my yard. My yard was considered, it was not considered a hard dig by contractor status, but it was definitely really, really tough to dig in. And you can also, it's too late now for citrus, but if you're doing this for your deciduous, you can start planning on moisturizing the soil, doing your deep watering ahead of time.
Yeah. All right. I just put the, actually, I'm going to talk.
Sorry, I want to say something. If you're going to deep water clay soil, do your deep watering and then don't plan on digging it until it's close to the dry stage, because that'll soften it up some, but then it won't be so heavy.
Amen. Grab the Great American Seed Up link, would you? So I just put in the chat box our store.urbanfarm.org. You can go check out what trees we have. We're running low on some of the citrus. If you're interested in citrus, I would highly suggest that you grab them as soon as you can. The citrus cart will be open until Wednesday midday, and then you can come down to the lot and see what we have left over. And when the lot is open, the shopping cart is closed.
Yes, I absolutely need that so that I can maintain inventory properly and I'm not selling something on lot that somebody else bought online.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. So we're going to close the online shopping on Wednesday. We're going to live on the lot for a while, and then following Sunday, Monday, I'll open it up again.
Perfect.
Seed Up. The link for the Seed Up is in the chat room, but basically if you're listening to this, you can go to greatamericanseedup.org/Phoenix Seed Up, and you'll find the information on the Seed Up happening in November.
Yeah. So here's the quick story. About 8-9 years ago, Bill McDormand and I were having a conversation about what would it take to make sure that we had enough seeds, open pollinated seeds, heirloom seeds in Phoenix to grow out food, because without local seeds, you can't have local food. And so we put together, it's a longer story than this, but we put together an event that happens once a year. This is the 8th time that we've done it. So the 8th year we've done it, where we put open pollinated seeds in popcorn buckets by variety in a big room. We rent a 10,000 square foot room, and you can come and scoop your own ultra inexpensive seeds. Check out the website, check out the event. You're not going to want to miss this. This is an amazing community building event. So greatamericanseedup.org/Phoenix Seed Up.
And our brand new class on leveling up your tree care is happening on Monday, September 19th at 5 p.m. I will put a link in the chat, but you can also go to urbanfarm.org/events to sign up for that. It is going to give you a chance to understand how to manage your energy if you're limited on time, if you're limited on finances, if you're limited on energy, how to make those decisions to get the maximum success.
Woohoo! All right, we have gone on for an hour and a half with this class, Janice.
What are we thinking?
I know, but we needed to get the questions answered. So thank you all very much. The video that I put in there from YouTube on how to fix your basin, we have all of that stuff available. I think Ramana asked whether he could just come down to the lot when he picks up his stuff. You can absolutely come down to the lot and pick up supplies when you're on the lot, and have fun. Man, we have, so the two rules on the lot. Number 1 rule is
be safe.
Be safe. Number 2 rule is
have fun.
Have fun. We have so much fun. It's almost like Christmas, the holidays, Hanukkah, where you're getting, you're showing up and there's magic happening. So come down and join us. I will be on the lot. I'm flying into Phoenix on next Wednesday. I will be on the lot for the next 2 weekends after that. And hey, come on down and play. I'd love to meet you. I know people. I know people from their emails, and and from the Q&A chats, just from your name there. So please introduce yourself when you come on the lot.
Yes.
So yeah. All right. Thanks, kids. And we will see you, let's see, Monday night for leveling up your tree care.
Not this Monday. Oh yeah, it is. Oh
It
yeah,
is.
Monday. Oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
If you're looking for citrus, there are a few added to the cart. If there was something not available when you were looking earlier, there's a few added to the cart for it. Grab them while you can.
Woo. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Janice. Bye.
Greg, let's talk.